You and Sophie, I want to talk to you both about that heartfelt scene with Jamie and Bree, where she and you were talking and she says, "Dad, no matter where I am, I will always be your wee girl." When you guys were doing that scene, I mean, what did you think? You had to know the fans would eat that up. What was that like for you in that moment?
Sounds leaving this one to me, apparently. I think the pre-wedding scenes were actually some of the first scenes that we did when we came back for season 5, so I feel like they naturally had that sort of nervous energy of everyone back on set again, you know, finding your feet again as an ensemble. And yeah, I think it's, you know, it's a lovely sentiment. I'm sure it's very scary for parents when you are sort of giving your child away, especially for Jamie. He hasn't really had much chance to get to know Brianna. They're just sort of seeing their relationship blossom and getting closer and closer, and yeah, now he feels like he's losing her, but he's not.
Yeah, it is exactly bittersweet, and you know, he's not been part of her life, and he's always wanted that, and I think at least he gets to give her away, and he wants it to be right, and he also wants, you know, her husband, his stepson, to be, you know, the man that is right for his daughter, and so that's a really nice storyline that we follow through as well. But yeah, it's a really, really beautiful moment, and I think there's a few really nice pre-wedding scenes there that are beautiful. Same with Claire.
And I think, you know, for Roger and Brianna, having this wedding in the 18th century is a very different feel than it would have been for them in the 70s. I'm sure they would have happily just eloped and done it, you know, sort of in secret and very easy breezy, but they're doing this in a way for their parents. Technically they're already married, but so I think little things like Jamie remembering there's something borrowed blue, it's for Brie that's really touching, because it just takes her back to her time period a little bit and makes her feel more at home.
You know what I also love so much is the flashbacks to Claire and Jamie's wedding that were shown, right? That was so nice. So perhaps the producers can talk a little bit about why they wanted to show some of those flashback scenes in there, because it was such a nice treat for the fans and everything kind of coming full circle.
Yeah, it was something we kind of played around with in the editing bay as we were watching the show. And you know, when you're doing a wedding, it's just redolent of other weddings and memories, and it's just a heartfelt sort of sequence. And I don't remember whose idea it was, but we were just watching the cut, and it felt right to sort of go into Jamie and Claire and go back to where it all really began, where the series began in a real sense, and where their relationship began. And I know when I've been at weddings, you know, since I've been married, I sit there and there's a part of me that drifts back to my own wedding and thinks about it, you know, when there's a couple up at the altar. And it just seemed like a nice touch to sort of, you know, be with them for that moment.
And Sam and Katrina, when was the last time that you guys watched episodes from season 1? Do you ever go back and rewatch that, or do you watch any of the montages on YouTube of fans that they put together?
Isn't it? It's normally when we're on the airplane and someone else is watching it, and you walk past. And
yeah, actually, and somebody else was saying that to me the other day, that every time they're on a plane, the show that they see the most often of other people watching is Outlander, which I think is amazing. And also, you know,
the wedding episode. Yeah.
You're all a bunch of perverts.
Do you guys ever go and look up the fan montages that they put together of Jamie and Claire on YouTube or anything? Because they're really I mean, that's really sweet. Have you ever
Our fans are the greatest. Hands down. Yeah, no, I mean, look, we're very lucky that we get to have so many interactions with the fans, whether we're doing fan events like this or conventions, and it's incredible how creative they are. Like, the montages they put together or books that they put together for us, and so, yeah, it's very cool.
Do we not have another screening tonight? Or is this the second one? Oh, it's simultaneous, right? It is, okay.
Never mind.
Also in the episode, I loved when Claire and Brie were talking about Frank. I thought that was a really nice way to bring Frank back into the fold. And I've also heard that we're gonna go back when he died, right? After he died, and we're gonna see some of those scenes. What can you say? It was It was
Maybe.
it was in TV Guide.
Who died?
At this point, I don't know what's a spoiler.
I know
and
it was
what's not,
in
so-
TV Guide that it said that we're going to go back to when after Frank died in those initial moments.
We
after.
do have flashbacks to the 60s, yes. But no, I think both Sophie and I loved that scene, or loved the opportunity to bring Frank back into her wedding day, because at the end of the day, whether, everyone knows that Jamie is the best, but Frank did raise Brianna for 20 years, and it was her wedding day, and I think that it would be crazy if she didn't somehow think and include Frank in that moment. And I think it was really important to have that in there.
Yeah, it was one thing Katrina and I really talked about, because, obviously Frank sometimes gets a lot of hate, but he
Frank.
did. He was a wonderful husband.
Jamie is the best.
He did raise Brianna, and yes, Jamie and Bri are starting to, have this blossoming relationship, but he really was such a huge part of Claire and Brianna's lives, and she has a lot to thank him for. Even he prepped her for going back in time. He taught her how to shoot, he taught her how to ride, everything. So he really did deserve that moment of respect on the day, and he definitely would have been in Brianna's mind. Having your dad give you away is a big deal, and yes, Jamie is her biological father, but they are just getting to know each other, so of course he was at the forefront of their minds.
Yay, Frank!
We do.
Is there any chance Tobias might come back for some brief appearances this season in flashbacks?
I think he's busy being royal.
Yeah, I think Tobias is pretty busy.
He is very busy. Okay, Richard.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Roger thinking that he's gonna eventually go back through the stones and go back into the 70s. How much friction is this gonna cause in his relationship with Bree, since he kind of assumes that eventually they will be going back?
I don't think it's necessarily directly going to cause friction. I think Roger's priority is his family, is Brianna, is Jamie, and I think that is what he's going to put first and foremost. And I think that's one of the things that is sort of part of Roger's journey through season 5, is how do I provide for my family? How do I keep them safe? How do I fit in here? How do I adapt to the 18th century? And I think that's one of the things that he's really striving to do. One of the things he's really determined to do is sort of find where he fits in that time for his family. So I think Brianna and Roger this season are much more of a team. They're much more sort of united, I think, and I think they tackle a lot more together. So I think there's a bit less friction actually, and I don't think the idea of will they or won't they go back to their own time necessarily causes too much tension between them. I think it's an important question for them, because ultimately what is going to be safest for Jamie, really. But I think that's part of the story that we then, take through season 5. So.
By the way, is there any chance we might find out, obviously it's going to be hard in the 1700s, but who the real biological father of Jeremiah is?
It's definitely Stephen Bonnet.
I mean, by looking
Isn't
at
it? He's so handsome.
Finally.
He's such a handsome child.
So,
Look, you've seen Jenny, right?
we ended up having about 5 sets of twins playing Jemmy, so about 10 children, and I
And
think
they
they all look like
And
Ed.
they all look.
All right, producer.
And they do, they all look exactly like Ed.
That was part of the
Well, it
casting
is
remit.
Irish
I was like, wait, what?
They also cry and they're a little bit annoying, so I don't know if that's a trait.
I missed that bit.
Okay, producers, are we going to maybe find out